there, baseball fans. Another episode of Prep Baseball North Carolina Podcast. I'm Brandon Hall, joined today by Patrick Johnson. Patrick, heading up our Western recruiting, and we just finished up our preseason All-State West on Sunday. Patrick, how we doing, my man?
Good, man. Good. Just, rolling along. But,
yeah
like you said, we had the West event on Sunday. It was a good event.
Yeah, and we're a little bit lacking sleep right now. Both of us had the jaunt from Greenville back home. I rolled into the house about 1:30. I think you were a little bit behind me, and then rolled into Mooresville on Sunday. Great event, but after we see that type of talent, I kind of want to get to work on it, and I don't get to sleep that night. I think I passed out on Monday, and we're recording this on Tuesday because we're back at it, trying to figure out how to see more players, maybe even start our high school stuff. I know Combine and Eastern Carolina Academy are playing Wednesday, so we may, by the time this airs, we may have been at that game. But it's that time of year. Weather's been good. Knock on wood, we're done with winter. I don't think we are because I just said that, but yeah, gorgeous this week.
Someone told me today that winter was coming back in like a week, so I hope they're wrong. I'm ready for it to be over.
We're going to dive into the preseason All-State West, hosted at a brand new facility, Arena Lake Norman, Arena National Baseball. John Mangum was kind of our host there and kind of oversees the facility and some of their team stuff, and really just a great space. We were able to do everything we wanted to do, full-length pop times, able to have infielders stretch their arms out a little bit, outfielders making about a 200-foot throw. Plenty of room as we opened up the cages and let balls fly and see the ball get off the bat and kind of see angle and trajectory and things like that. Your first time in that facility, what overall impressions?
I mean, it was nice. Like you said, I mean, everything's state of the art, clean, nice, new, plenty of room. That's how you want the facility to be anytime you do an event or anything like that, or just if you're going to be part of an organization. It was great. I mean, everything was super nice. I think I said that 10 times for the first 20 minutes I was in there. I mean, it's a world-class place. They do a great job running it. And, I look forward to doing events there in the future.
Yeah. And we got a chance to see everything. I mean, there's plenty of room in there. We could set up all of our stuff and really kind of dive into the players and the roster itself. I think we're close to 50, 55 players by the end of it. I know the flu is running through most of the country at this point. We had some guys at the Super 60 that were banged up a little bit. We've had some guys in and out a little bit, but just the overall talent we saw, again, those 2 days, close to 150 players from across the state, and just amazed by the talent level. We saw guys that are going to be with us future games. We saw guys that are going to be with us super sophomore games. We saw some future pro case guys. It's amazing how much these kids adapt this now to the early start in the season, their ability to ramp up, their ability to be good for events like this, and their ability to sustain, kind of what's happening as they get ready for the spring. Do you remember it being that way as you were going through?
These kids do it completely different than I did. I mean, I know it's been quite a few years, but they just do such a good job of their training routines, their regiments, timing things out for I can be ready for this event, and it's, part of my ramp up to get ready for the season. They do a really good job. And I mean, that's also the way the game's changed, and, they have different programs out there, different trainers and stuff like that. But these kids they're starting to figure it out. They do a really good job of getting themselves ready. It's different than how I was. It was kind of just play different sports, get ready to go, hit in the backyard, and, hope you're ready. But they do a better job.
One of the things that happens, with the evolution of this, I think the guys are getting more feedback. They're getting a chance to understand where their numbers at and how their arms are reacting, how their run speeds are reacting, how the ball's reacting off their bats. So they're able to kind of make quicker adjustments just because, they're throwing a pitch and they're getting instant feedback from some of the numbers. And we saw some guys during the event really taking advantage of, hey, how was that? How did that get out? How did that move? Whereas we used to just get guys snapping their head around looking for velocity, trying to see an LED board that had a velocity up. I was impressed. We had several guys get on the bump. How did that move? Was that one in the zone? And not just asking about velocity, but asking how did the pitch present itself? And that was new for us. Even as we've been doing this for a couple of years, I don't know. I've had an event where we've had upper level guys with a little bit of an understanding at least of what's going on with TrackMan and the numbers and how they present and how to make adjustments pitch to pitch to get what they want out of those numbers.
Right. I think that goes along with what you said. Times are changing. They're all training with TrackMans. They're training with, different devices that are going to let them work on pitch design and the numbers that they want to get the shape that they want. And, they train with that all the time. So when they're up there, like you said, they're not just looking for a velo. They're looking for, hey, how was my tilt on that? How was the, the release, everything like that, so that they understand better what the pitch is going to do. And that, things are changing. These kids they got everything at their hands, and, we all do, and they're starting to take advantage of it.
Let's dive into the roster. Let's dive into some of the things we saw, and we're going to start, and I'm going to try to kind of present some things as we're going through. We're going to start on the bump, and one of the guys that really just above and beyond really showed up and showed out. Beckett Howie. Let's see if I can pull the right one. That's not the right one. There he goes. Here it comes. Here it comes. Now we're cooking. He's the movement, action, the looseness in the hips. He's got a little quarter turn right there. He's a little closed through balance. There's looseness is what's happening. That arm's working, and the two pitches we got here on video really kind of showed what we saw throughout the entire event.
5'6".
It's an excellent arm speed. It's excellent direction, and then he's throwing right out of that same window a slider that has I think it's got enough tilt, it's got enough movement, but it's going to be something that kind of continues to evolve. This was a wow moment. Watching the arm speed, the direction the ball get out, I was really impressed with where Howie is at right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're only showing 2 pitches in that video, but all of his pitches were like the whole time he was up there, he was filling up the zone. If he did miss a little bit, like you said, adjustment coming back in the zone. We got to see him a couple of weeks ago, and he made a big jump with velocity. I think he went up to almost 3 miles an hour from that event over a few weeks, and I mean he was impressive the whole time he was up there.
Yeah, we talk about guys getting used to being around us. I thought his level of relaxation, his ability just to kind of go through his routine, his understanding of kind of what people wanted to see was really impressive. I think he was up to 92 something. The fastball had enough movement. The metrics on it played. I think he's still kind of figuring out exactly how to get the ball to do what he wants to. And then slider spin rate doesn't give you a whole lot of information. It's more about the how abrupt the turn is and the length of the turn. But just eyeballing that pitch, it's an out pitch at the high school level. It's a weapon at the college level. You start getting a little bit deeper to pro ball. The fastball should continue to grow. It should allow the slider to grow. We should see more length in it. But I think it's one of those things too, when you start talking about young pitchers, and you were a guy that could really spin the ball. Guys that develop breaking ball, I think it's one of those things where facing hitters, the numbers in TrackMan give you some details, but facing hitters, can I manipulate it? Can I make it go longer? Can I make it more abrupt? Can I make it have more depth? Do I want length? Do I want tilt? Depends on what the hitter's doing, and then can I locate it? When I've seen guys that can really locate a slider to their arm slide, and it's short, tight, late, and it's got kind of a deception to it. But when they go to their glove side, now it's not so much deception, it's can they run that ball off the bat? And so, your development, your breaking ball, did you see that kind of through your evolution of high school and into college and into pro ball?
Yeah. I mean, you're getting into a whole different thing. I mean, that's going along with reading hitters and, seeing what they're doing and stuff like that. But I could tell sometimes like what type of breaking ball I wanted to throw, depending on the hitter. Do I want the big loopy one? Do I want the harder one, shorter break? Is he sitting on it? And that honestly, it took me a lot longer to learn how to read a hitter and to see what they're looking for and how they're reacting to certain pitches. I didn't figure that out until I was like 25, 26 years old in pro ball. Wish I'd have figured it out.
I had to figure it out faster because I didn't have your stuff. So
well, I
had to start figuring that stuff out.
I wished I would have figured it out faster. I probably could have played for a lot longer if I would have, figured it out when I was younger. But, and I think these kids are starting to do that. They're starting to do that at a younger age, but they also have different equipment available for them. They can go back and watch video and learn on it. Well, he was jumping at this pitch, or this is how he reacted to that pitch. We didn't really have all that. I think I was still using a flip phone back in high school when I was coming through, so I couldn't really get a ton of video.
I heard a podcast today with Andrew Luck on it. He was using it up until just a couple of years ago, so he didn't go with the flip phone. So
that makes sense with him. It makes sense.
Let's move on to another right-hander we saw, somebody that really kind of impressed. And I think we had heard this one was going to come. It's a pitcher that we've heard had making the jump. We've seen the body. We know the arm action's fairly clean. Trevor Yancey. Trevor's a 6 foot, 185-pound right-hander, 2027 Providence Day School Wow Factor National. And it's kind of a bullish strength over arm speed, but really good direction. Again, great leverage through the baseball, and the stuff played out. It bumped 90.2, sat 88, 89. It's a little bit lower spin rate fastball. It's got some arm side action to it, and he showed the ability to spin a breaking ball to 2205. And again, the slider, actually threw slider at this event, 2239. Again, the slider action had late tilt. Your thoughts kind of quickly on Trevor.
No, I think the biggest thing that you said, the physical body, strong, and coming out, bumping 90 early in the year, being able to show the other pitches, being able to show that he can spin it, control a changeup. He did well with that. But the biggest thing I think you said, like, strong guy, strong body. I think there's room for him to grow, keep progressing up. And, I want to see him later on in the high school season when we get to go out and watch him.
Yeah, the home game for me, so he's right down the road. And, I think he's one of those guys too. We may have seen a glimpse of kind of what the floor has a chance to be. I think he has a chance to grow as he continues to go. And, intrigued as we kind of look back through some of the older videos that we have from the summer, and even back into when he was really young. But the ball's firm out of the hand, and it plays up in the zone a little bit. So, I'm interested to see how that continues to progress. And he's going to be playing in a good league. They're going to see good arms. And so we'll get a chance to get a further evaluation on that. Another arm, and again, we're talking about 27, another 20. All four of these guys we're going to talk about out of the shooter 2027. And it kind of gets to us starting to dream about what our future games team has a chance to be. And we're still only 2 big-time events, now 6 events into the year in terms of evaluating guys that have a chance to be future games guys, super sophomore games guys, top prospect games, border battle. But the next one is Colt Briggs. Colt was with us for our super sophomore games, was a guy that took a jump late, somebody that's in your backyard and you're very familiar with. Overall reaction to Colt's day and how he performed.
He threw well. St. Stephen's, my alma mater, so I've been following him. We saw him last year. I was impressed with him there. And he's grown over that time from super sophomores to now. Really improved on the breaking ball. He's gotten better feel for it, but fastball keeps growing. He's got that shorter arm action, gets out quick. And it causes a problem for hitters when he's in there. You can tell they're a little uncomfortable with the way he throws. And he keeps them off balance. But, he's another guy, high ceiling, got a chance to fill out and over the next year or so to really see where he can get to, when he keeps progressing over that time.
He's an interesting follow because we saw him a year ago.
Yeah.
And the body just jumped at you. You go, yeah, I'm in. I haven't seen him throw a pitch yet. I'm in. And then his arm action early last year was choppy, which when you're as long as he is, that's hard for a younger guy to kind of time up and figure out.
Right.
And then as we saw him in the summer, he had made an adjustment with his arm action. The guys that he works with and the work that he put in was fantastic. His direction now has gotten better. We saw him at super sophomore games. He was a little bit rotational. He was a little bit across his body at times, trying to, again, continue to get synced up. He's added strength. He's added muscle mass. And in doing so, he's cleaned up some of the effort that he's had to provide to be a guy that's going to be 88, 89. I think that's where he topped that out, but it's easy to see it's going to get better. The breaking ball he flashed, it wasn't quite as consistent as it will be in a month, but the breaking ball he flashed during this event was pretty freaking good. And so now we start going, okay, here's where he was, here's where he has been, and now here's where he's getting to. Where is he going to be in 6 months? And that's the fun part of where he's got a chance to be because the body's still young. It's still a high waist. It's still, it's still kind of growing and maturing. But we're seeing every time the body takes a jump, we're seeing the stuff take a jump.
Right.
The other thing I like about him too is I think he has a little bit of that. And I don't know what his complete upbringing in terms of where he was when he was 9, 10, 11, 12. If I had to bet, my bet was he was a good player at those levels, but he may have been overshadowed in his area by some guys here and there because he carries a little chip on him. And I mean that in the best possible way.
Right.
There's a drive to what he's doing. And, obviously we want that to stay. But he feels like, I'm going to show you. You keep doubting me, keep telling me that I'm not this guy or that guy or this guy's better. I'm going to show you. And then every time we see him, he's better. So I don't know if that's perception on our end because I don't know him obviously as well as you do, but I have a pretty good feel for him. But I love that in a guy because I think that stays with them, for 3, 4, 5, 10 years.
No, absolutely. And he's a great kid, hard worker, great kid, but he's not going to be outworked, and he wants to show that he's the best. That's for sure. And he's going to keep working at it.
Another 2027, again, another guy that was with us at Super Sophomore Games, Alex Wall. Alex, a right-handed pitcher, Freedom High School, 2027. Very similar build to what we see in Colt and with that body. And you were manning the mound that he was throwing on. What did we see out of Alex and where he was at Super Sophomore Games in August and where we're seeing him kind of trend to as we get to the spring?
I mean, he's clean. He's always been clean, with the way he throws. And he threw well for us at Super Sophomores. He threw well at the Preseason All-State West. And that seems to be kind of the thing with him. He's always sometimes kind of looks nonchalant when he does it, but he's getting full effort out of it. And he repeats well and, just really controls his body for his age. He does a good job when he's out there.
Yeah, we'll see some of his numbers where he was just the other day. That's 20. I put on hitting. He's going to be an arm. That 83 jumped out. I was like, no, he was better than that. Up to 86, and he carried the fastball throughout. Not a huge difference between his max and I thought his effort level was really good. He was relaxed. The lines were good. And again, you're talking about a taller guy, a higher waisted guy. It's still young. How are they controlling their lines? How are they controlling their movements? I think there needs to be a little bit more explosiveness in the hips and the arm. But when you're that big, I don't know that has to come right now. I think it'll come as we go. There'll be a point where the ball needs to take off. We're seeing 18-22 on the spin as we look down a little bit further into just some of his numbers. 18.6. He's maximizing that spin. The spin rate at 18.22, and he's still getting 18 inches of induced vertical at 86. Typically as the velocity climbs, the ball doesn't have as much time to climb through the zone, so that 18 may get down to about a 16. But if that 1800 spin rate jumps to 2200, he may hang in there at 18. Now you're starting to talk about, can we do something so that he has ride through the zone? I think he's going to be very naturally the ability to kill the spin too if he wants to and create sink. I think he's more comfortable down in the zone right now. He was very impressive with the angle he was creating. The slider, for me, is not quite as abrupt as we want it, but again, he's a 2027. I don't think it has to be yet. You could start to see his direction good, his hand placement's good. He's got finger strength. The ball wants to spin. And again, he's probably getting a ton of outs with these two pitches. And so hitter feedback is telling him, we're not ready that we have to make that jump yet. There will come a point where hitters will say, I can see that. It's not getting me out as consistently. And at that point, I think Alex very naturally makes a jump. And we see stuff continue to tick up again. The ceiling is really high.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's early in the year. I mean, that time you may have it today, you may not. But he's from around my area, and I've heard about his numbers so far this offseason and where he's gotten to, and he's going to keep climbing throughout the season.
Whoop. That sound coming on my screen screwed me up there. We're going to transition to hitters. We're manning it without Sean. Sean's running all over the place and doing a lot of different things. So I'm trying to produce and go at the same time. And this one's not going to be as clean as some of our other podcasts. We're still learning, though. We're just baseball guys doing a podcast.
Real life.
That's right, real life. We're going to transition away from the pitchers. We're going to get into some of our hitters. We're going to start with a guy that we have seen, recently with Luke Ponska. Big physical first baseman, West Rowan High School, 2026. Luke's a right-handed hitter. We saw him at our Charlotte ID. He
Correct.
Earned his invite to this event. And we tell guys, hey, come, don't come. You don't necessarily need to be there. But I think he felt like there was more in the tank, and goodness gracious, up to a 104 max exit velocity. It was a pretty good day for Mr. Ponska.
No, absolutely. And when he got in the box, everyone started watching. I think Zach tried to get me to go and feed the machine while he was hitting. And, Luke didn't disappoint either. He hit a couple missiles back up the middle. I think the 104 whizzed right past Zach's head up the middle. I thought it was perfect. But no, it was just strong kid. We saw him at Charlotte. He was great, finding barrels, and everything had power through it. Same thing that we saw the same thing at the West event. I mean, he's just a strong kid, and when he gets the ball, it goes, and he's getting better about being more consistent with that and finding the barrel. Yeah,
and we're seeing a little bit in these swings right here. This is early in one of his rounds where he's still trying to get the timing up off the machine. Yeah. He hits the third swing as a freaking missile, and also it was missile behind it. But what I love is there's some stability in the head. He's sitting in his legs. And for a bigger guy, the turn's got some quickness to it in the lower half. He's generating some torque and some power. And the last thing I always watch for is, what are the hands doing with the barrel, especially as he gets through the baseball, and he's completely in control of that barrel. He knows where it is. He's allowing it to get long. He's got hand strength. So it's not just a bigger guy. It's a bigger guy that has strength, and that strength is translating to the swing.
Right.
Defensively, there's decent bend. He's able to kind of get into his legs a little bit. He's got some softness to his hands. And, I think as he continues to grow and mature, the body continues to mature a little bit. There may be enough quickness that, you can see him as being an average defender, and then really allowing the bat to play. So guys that come, and again, we talked about it with Beckett. Now we're talking about with Luke. There was a relaxation. He knew us. He'd been around us already. There was a relaxation on this day. So even early on, he mishit a ball here, he mishit a ball there. I remember him stepping out and taking a breath, and then bang, 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 bang. We're on the barrel and we're just driving baseballs everywhere. So it was good to have him back, and I thought he performed at a really high level.
No, he did. Absolutely did.
The next position player that we're going to talk about, Zeke Adwaters. Zeke's an infielder, TC Roberson. We're going to talk about a couple TC Roberson guys here today. 2026 infielder. And it's a unique situation for Zeke because there is a ton of competition at TC Roberson. And, state champions last year, Division I guy at third, Division I guy at short. And then he battled, to get in the lineup at second in a couple different ways defensively when they made some pitching changes with some guys. And we saw him last year, and it was a good defender with a bat that was light. And, he showed some quickness. He's got people around him that are doing a good job of saying, hey, these are the things you got to get better at. He walked into the building, and he looked like a changed young man. Not that it was a bad body last year. It was an athletic-looking body. But he's put on 10, 15 pounds of muscle. And, you're starting to look and go, he's developed. He looks good in a baseball uniform. And then it's gone to the field. He's shown improvement. He's shown an ability to move. I thought his defensive actions were outstanding. He's got trust in his glove. And then offensively, it was night and day compared to what we saw last year. Really big improvements in the box, and a guy that's going to, push to be counted on at TC Roberson to see if they can't make that next run to that next title.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, like you said, great program, TC Roberson. They're going to help you push yourself to be, the best that you can. But like you said, the biggest thing, I saw him last year as well, and just huge changes in his body. He's stronger everywhere. His swing, and he was up to 97 something with his exit velo, and just you could see the difference, more confidence in everything he was doing, fielding, throwing, hitting, all of it. He's starting to figure out, he knows that, he can get to that level, and he's starting to really play on it.
Yeah, some of these numbers that we saw in the summer, that 7.28 is going to be a little bit better. He ran better in the 30. 97.6, you mentioned that, but again, the number for me on him was the average exit velocity. Over the course of 2 rounds, he carried 9 miles an hour. And just very impressive with the way to get the barrel there. You're seeing an increase in distance. He's carrying a max of 330, and it's again shortened rounds of BP. He's a defensive player first for me still right now, but the ability for him to kind of make those adjustments, the ability to take some instruction, whether it was numbers he saw from us, or where he's at in the summer. I know TC Roberson has a very good player development system, and he's taken on that challenge. It's you look at it, and you're looking at depth of rosters right now, and you're looking across the state, and you have more and more freshmen playing, you have more and more sophomores playing. And so, we're seeing guys even at the high school level, if it's not going perfectly their way as a freshman, bang, they're out. They're going somewhere where they're going to play. He took the challenge. Now, I don't know how it's going to play out. Roberson's got a lot of depth and a lot of players, but he's on the map right now. He's a guy that people are going to have to follow regardless what the situation is, because he's made himself a better player. Right,
absolutely. And you make a good point. I mean, you see that now up at the college level too. I mean, you don't play first year, you're gone. And, I think, he made a good choice to stay and battle it out. I think it's going to make him a better player in the long run for it, because he's going to go through the battles, the ups and downs. And then when he gets there and he's, the guy, I think it's, he's going to be prepared for it and be able to take advantage of it.
Let's stay at TC Roberson. We'll talk about another 2027 that, we've known for a while. He was with us at Junior Future Games a couple years ago. He was invited to Super Sophomore Games last year. Parker Philippek, catcher, infielder. I think it's probably a stretch to call him a utility guy, because I like him behind the plate, but he can be a utility guy. I know they have some depth at Roberson. He's going to give some coaches some options, because his infield actions were okay. Again, TC Roberson, I think he's in one of the tougher situations. I actually had a chance to coach a young man who played for his father at Charlotte, and it's a unique dynamic. And knowing what the guys at TC Roberson, their player development system, he's been around it forever, but it's a unique dynamic anytime you're playing for your dad, and really impressed with the strides he's made. He's become more athletic. There's better bend in his hips. There's more fluidity in what's going on. Left-handed hitter. I thought the direction was good. I thought the lower half turn was fantastic. I thought the bat speed has improved, and get a chance to see a couple swings right here. There's natural leverage. There was natural backspin. He wasn't trying to lift the ball. His natural piece is to drive baseballs with a little bit of loft to it. Your initial thoughts of watching Parker?
I mean, I thought he was a, all-around good player, like you said. I mean, I don't want to call him utility, but the biggest thing I remember, you get to these events and everything that we do, everyone's trying to go full bore, all out, me get this number, that, he had the best pop time at the event for catchers, but then also, I mean, out of all the throws he made down, I think, 95% of them right on the back, right. So it's like he's going max effort with everything, but it's controlled, it's like game speed, game motion. He's getting those results that he wants and then also showing off the numbers that he wants to get, it's showing control of what he's doing.
It was a good workout. You always are interested to see how guys are transitioning from freshman year, sophomore year to junior year. By the time they're juniors, you kind of got a feel for what that linear progression is going to be like as seniors. There's times we get surprised, but typically we have a pretty good feel that you start to get an idea what their work ethic is, year in and year out. And this was a good offseason for Parker. I'm really excited to see how it translates. And again, you're talking about a young man that behind the plate as a freshman probably is in the mix to start at most high schools. But at TC Roberson, he's fighting just to get in the lineup, and I can play the outfield, I can play the infield, I'm willing to DH, I'll be the next catcher. He had a lot of different ways to give them some options in terms of getting him in the lineup, but then he's also willing to take on that challenge. I wasn't the main guy, and now what do I have to do to kind of become that main guy? And so I think it's the work that he did is going to pay off this spring. It's going to pay off down the line, but I'm excited for him. And again, TC Roberson is going to put themselves in a position where they're going to be a team that, is going to have to be dealt with at the 4A level. I know they're playing a really tough schedule. I don't expect them to run the table by any means because of what they're doing to challenge themselves. But I think as they get towards the end of the year, it's really going to pay off too.
No, yeah, they're going to be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to going out and catching those games this year.
We're going to stay on the western side of the state. We're going to stay with a coach's son, and we're going to stay behind the dish. Our next player that showed out and really was an intriguing player for me because I saw him this summer, and now I have a little bit more of a backstory of what I saw. But Hayes Hilliard, catcher, Asheville High School, is a senior. He's uncommitted. We saw Hayes at state games. We saw Hayes in the spring last year. And, I had heard good things, but I had not seen him. I've known his dad for a while, really since we were both in high school. And, that situation. I didn't want to bring up my evaluation because I didn't have a great one on Hayes. Well, lo and behold, dude's playing hurt. You know, there was I don't know exactly the injury, if it was a hand issue or a leg issue, but he basically played when he shouldn't have been playing because he was able to tolerate the pain. It wasn't going to get any worse. I want to say it was a bone issue, but hold me to that. I'm not positive on any of that. But it wasn't anything that's going to linger or be long term. So, you know, I'm hearing now, okay, he's healthy. You know, let's see what he does. He sits in there and he throws pretty good. There's a little bit of effort, but the ball gets out. There's athletic bend. There's athletic direction in what he's doing. We then go to catching bullpens, and he sat in there with some ease. And then our next step was we started doing the athletic testing. And I didn't watch him run. I was trying to get some other things done, but I watched him jump. And it was, I mean, and we're going to discuss here in the coming weeks the vertical jump test and what we're doing with the vertical jump test and what Vald's doing with the vertical jump test, because the numbers are a little bit different than what people get. They just do a straight up tap test where they're just jumping up and trying to tap those rings. I don't think it's quite that, because I think the jump test we're doing is taking out reach and height. And it's just basically how high are you getting off the mat versus a reach test where you're jumping and tapping and you're getting something a little bit for your length of your arms or the height that you are. And so it can skew the number a little bit. So our numbers are going to be slightly different than that test. But you watch him jump, and he jumped, and when I'm expecting to hear feet hit the ground, he was still in the air. And that explosiveness plays. He's a right-handed hitter. We'll share a little bit of video right here. You know, and the swing was productive. It was flat. It was on the barrel. You know,
51 Hayes Hilliard.
I'm going to try to turn that sound off real quick. If I can do that. There we go. I'm gonna bring him back up. What initial thoughts on Hayes as we were kind of breaking down the day for him?
Well, I mean, first thing I can say, when you meet these kids for the first time and you're talking to them, 90% of the time, you know, you'll ask them their name, you can't hear what they say. But like, I remember him exactly. I'll never forget his face. And, you know, he's very clear, like talking straight to you. I really like that about him. Easy going, but, you know, just athletic kid. You know, like you said, with being athletic with the jump, I remember that. I was standing there with you when he jumped, and we both were like, wow. You know, he had a great workout, showed all around skill with what he did. And, you know, another one that's going to have a chance to do something this year in the high school season, and hope to get out and see him play as well.
Yeah, one of the things that stands out too is for me was it's a baseball player,
right?
And I think what you're saying is right. Where, you know, the way he presents himself, the way he handles himself, the way he handled pitchers, you know, his confidence level moving from station to station and doing things. You know, he knows I'm a good baseball player, right. And I think that has a chance to translate quickly when you get to the college level, because, you know, tools are tools, and we got to learn to adapt to what our tool level is. And, you know, are we going to be able to, at the next level, is our tools going to stand out at a really high level compared to some other guys? But if I'm a baseball player, just put me in baseball situations and I'll be fine. He's grown up around the game. You know, his dad's a coach. His granddad was a coach. His brother played at a high level. You know, he's been around it for a while. You know, there's not a whole lot of situations that are going to shock him. And again, a ton of respect for, you know, getting through last year and whatever it was he was dealing with, and playing through that, playing for his teammates, being a team guy, because the guy we saw today was nowhere close to the guy I saw in the playoffs, but he was their best option behind the plate, and so he sucked it up and did it. And now we're seeing, you know, hopefully the fruit of the labor and is going to pay off for 2025. And there's still time for those guys, still coaches out there doing a lot of recruiting in terms of, you know, trying to find, you know, where they're going to land. But I think he has a chance to step on a roster somewhere and help somebody pretty quickly, because he's going to adapt to baseball situations.
Right. Absolutely. Like you said, baseball player, he's going to figure it out. He's going to get into his comfort zone, and he's going to help a team win. So I may think he's got a bright future ahead of him.
The last player we have scheduled to talk about, it was a dual guy. And, you know, we love dual guys, especially with what the new roster rules are going to be. Left-handed pitcher, left-handed hitter. Bat's got a chance to create a little juice. The left-handed pitching part, you know, I think he was up to 83.5, showed breaking ball in the zone. But we're going to talk about Jackson Taplin, left-handed pitcher, first baseman, Ambassador Christian, a 2027, and it's a physical frame. The body, as I'm getting ready to share a little bit of video here, you know, the body's still kind of developing in terms of that movement and that action down the line, or creating some rotation in the box. But He's physical and there's strength.
87 Jackson Taplin, 87 Taplin.
It works pretty easy.
Yeah, and you can tell he's still young. He's gonna get stronger.
Taplin.
And there's already strength there, but you can tell that it's gonna keep improving on the mound, in the box, and he's gonna have a chance to two-way. But yeah, he was a good one to watch. I remember seeing him in the box. The ball was jumping off his bat. Finding barrels. And he adjusted quick to the machine. Some guys, it takes a round to get used to it. It was one swing, boom, all right, I'm there. He did a great job. He had a great workout.
Yeah, he'll be interesting to follow. Ambassador Christian has a couple guys coming through. I don't know that high school very well, but they've got a couple of athletes. So I think we're going to see if we can't get them on the schedule for one of their better games and see if we can't roll out there and see them. As we roll through the roster, I'm going to try and bring up my roster real quick from that event. The depth of talent. I mean, we're taught there's a couple guys that come to mind that our 2027s we didn't talk about. They're going to be on our follow list as we go to try to figure out who's going to be a super sophomore games, who's going to be a future games guy, who's going to be a senior future games guy. Your initial thoughts in running through that roster quickly. Are there names that we've missed that we're not talking about today that guys should be paying attention to as we start to roll out stories in the next 2 to 3 weeks?
I like Leighton Gould. We saw him at Charlotte as well. Got his invite to here. There were 2 guys that carried exit velos over 90. He was one of them. And I think he did the same in Charlotte. He was pretty close to it. He seems to always get the barrel to the ball. Every time I've seen him hit, athletic kid. I like the way he presents himself. He was one that jumped out at me in Charlotte and at the event.
Strong hands,
right.
And he does a pretty good job. A lot of times you see guys that don't have a stride going off those machines like we do at the events. They struggle to get their timing. He picked his timing up pretty quickly off the machine, which I was impressed with, but the hands are really strong.
Right.
He manipulates the barrel. The barrel goes where he wants the barrel to go. Behind the plate, the arm has carry. Like to see a little bit better bend in the hips. He sits in there a little bit better receiving live arms versus some of the pop time stuff, which, again, guys are trying to put up numbers and so you live with that a little bit. But I think, again, I think you're head on a nail. The future is bright for him. For me, Jacob Caesar, is an elite runner. He's a future games guy for us. He's made some adjustments with his swing. There was more barrel contact. He was flatter through the zone. Defensively, he's got a chance to stick in the middle of the infield. If not, he's going to be able to play center field because of the run tools, that good. He's going to be a plus runner at the college level. Gabriel Diaz, first time we've seen him, third baseman from Palisades, 2027. Physical, strong legs, tapered waist, left. I think it was a left-handed swing. It is a left-handed swing, and there was quickness with the bat.
No, yeah, he I like the swing, athletic kid, like you said. He's got a chance to be really good if he keeps maturing the way that he should. He stuck out with everything he did. You could tell, had confidence in the box.
Who were some of the other guys you had?
I liked Jalen Boyd. He was there all day. He did it all. He pitched off the bump. I think he was up to 83, 84, something like that. But, just had a feel for it. In the box, great swing, really strong arm. I think he was 93 miles an hour with his outfield throw, I believe, if I got that right. But yeah, just all around athlete. It had a great workout, and he was one that stuck out to me while we were there. And tons of talent at the whole event. We
didn't talk about Caesar's future games guy. We didn't talk about Ethan Whistler. Super sophomore games guy. Both those guys performed at a really high level. We're trying to nitpick and figure out, okay, which 9 or 10 guys we're going to talk about. Whistler, I'm pulling up some of his pitching stuff now. I love the body and what the arm action does up to 85, 2271 on the spin, induced vertical break, average 16.8. The breaking ball had some abrupt action, smaller little tilt, but 11.5 action to it. Going through the roster real quick, just making sure, trying to get names out. Connor Park, I thought Connor, left-handed pitcher, showed feel for the zone, good direction. He is a 2026 out of Mooresville. We saw Thomas Jolly as a 27 catcher out of Karsten. It's an intriguing frame. as he continues to add strength. Colby Epperly, first baseman from Aldrich Kell, also pitched. He's an athletic-looking dude and kind of an interesting follow.
Yeah, no, I like Colby. We saw him last year at I think we had an open ID in Charlotte at the end of the summer, and I was impressed with what he did outside. And he just did the same thing coming here. Impressive player, athletic guy, a good one to follow.
A couple other names for me, Grayson Anderson moved okay. Austin Baxter's a shortstop out of Hopewell's a 2028. He's going to be a guy that we'll probably need to follow through and see if the Super Sophomore Games is a fit for him. Ben Bordeaux is a 26 that we've liked. The metrics are there. You're starting to see him add some strength to the frame. He's just going to be a little bit of a late developer in terms of how that maturation comes. And again, that's not a reflection on work ethic or anything like that. It's just a reflection on genetics. Their brother was a guy that didn't fully mature until he was 23, 24 in terms of his body. Mentally, he may not be physically mature yet or completely mature yet. And he doesn't watch this, so I can say that. But Ben's a guy that, the ball does some different things out of his hand compared to what most pitchers see. So I think he has a chance to be in a little bit of that unicorn space as he continues to mature. And, he may be a name we look up as a junior in college and go, we were right. Did we really put our full stamp on it? We'll see what happens this year, and we'll continue to follow him. But he's a guy that we're kind of waiting for that jump to happen. I think we may have seen the inklings of it starting to come. This event was fun. It was a first time event, a first time space for the event. I thought the talent was good. I thought the space allowed the talent to kind of do what they wanted. For us, I talked about with Zach earlier in the week, the event in Greenville, we looked like the ducks on the water. We were just gliding across. Meanwhile, underneath, our feet were paddling, kicking everywhere, trying to keep us afloat because, we had some issues here, we had some issues there, and, nobody around us knew what was going on because we have fixes to all those things as they happen, but we were having to use those fixes. And in this event, you and I are both sitting there watching BP.
That never happens.
BP. So having all three of us actually be able to do that, it's an anomaly at times because we're trying to make sure TrackMan's being efficient, the cameras are being efficient, the batteries are being efficient, Blast is being efficient. We have all these moving parts, and when one thing goes down, it's the three of us that kind of fix them. And so this event was nice because I got to the end of the day, and it didn't feel like I'd worked as hard because I hadn't. I actually got to sit, and I told somebody earlier today, I had most of my evaluations done before we left the building, and that was a novelty for me. No,
that's it. I hope that we don't jinx that, and I hope that that's how the rest of them go the rest of the year and from here forward. I mean, it was nice. But, like you said, we handle it when it happens, and nobody knows that anything's wrong, but that's part of the job, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to another good weekend. Preseason All-State Central. By the time this show posts, will be sold out. Pro Case follows that on Sunday. And as we kind of continue to roll through this, we'll break down the Central, we'll break down the Pro Case. We're going to be working to talk to some of our Super 60 guys that were in Chicago this past weekend. Big weekends for, Roop, for Murr, for say it again.
Who you say, Meridian?
Yeah,
Roop.
Matt. Meridian was there. Matt was there. Roop was there. And then Rhett was there. So, those four guys from North Carolina, we're going to break them down and get a chance to talk to them and kind of roll through it. We're both a little punch drunk. It's as we're doing this because it's exciting. We're getting a chance to go back and watch these videos and look at the numbers these guys are putting up. And I'm blown away by some of the jumps these guys are making and some of the progress they're making, and really excited for what their next 6 to 12 months hold as some of these guys are really just now starting to dip their toe into the recruiting waters.
No, absolutely. Yeah. You hit it on the head right there. I mean, I'm looking forward to getting out in the high school season, and even some of the guys, that I saw last year to this year, they've made big jumps, and being able to go see them play in the high school season and over the summer and see how, the things they do at the workout. Okay. Well, how does it translate to the field, and see if they've made those changes also? Cause there is a difference, and I'm excited to see what some of these guys do in a game situation.
Well, that's going to wrap us up for the day. He's Patrick Johnson. I'm Braden Hall. I'm your North Carolina Director of Scouting for Prep Baseball. This has been the Prep Baseball North Carolina podcast, and we'll see you at the field.